asset base. And when you say asset base, we are referring to what kind of asset? Net asset. Is that not? Net asset. How do you get net asset? We said yesterday that net asset is total asset minus what? Your total liability. And there are three methods we referred to here yesterday. What are those methods? First method is book value. All right. When you talk about book value, we are simply looking at the value, historical value that you have in your what? In your books. And the second one is what? Replacement. Replacement cost. Right? Cost of replacing the asset in what? In its condition, right? And the third one is what? Realizable. How much can I get if I put this asset in what? In the market. And that's the first method, net asset. Second method, we look at the comparables. Comparables. All right. So if you're looking at comparables, you're looking at market comparables now, which is only for companies that are what? That are quoted in the market or that are listed. What are the methods under this? We talked about PE ratio. When you talk about PE ratio, we are saying that the value of any business or any company is gotten by multiplying the PE ratio by what? By the profit what? After tax. Does that make sense to us? Yeah. Value equals to PE ratio multiplied by the earnings of that company, right? And that should give us the value. Next is what we talked about, what again? Dividend yield. How do you get dividend yield? How do you calculate dividend yield? Divided by what? So DPS divided by what? NPS. Earnings yield, how do you get that? Opposite of what? P ratio. Remember, how do you calculate P ratio? Market price per share divided by what? Earnings per share. So the yield is just what? The inverse. Is that not? So if the question is saying use earnings yield and they give you earnings yield, all you're just doing is just to inverse your P ratio formula and then you do the same thing. Does it make sense? All right, please let me know when you think I'm talking to myself. And then, all right, next. So what this method is saying is simple. If you have dividend yield and they say it's DPS multiplied by MPS, what it means is that if I know dividend yield of a company and I know the dividend per share of a company, I can get the MPS by doing what? Making this guy what? The subject of the formula. Right. Next method, market capitalization. No thinking, capitalization. Right? How do you get this guy? Simply your MPS multiplied by what? Number of shares. Hello, no thinking. Yes, please.
Good morning, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Please,
You're welcome to class.
You are writing, but those of us online are not seeing anything that you are
writing. Please check your network.
Check your network.
Okay, you are using a Tisala too.
All right, market capitalization, no thinking. Just MPS multiplied by what? Number of shares. What else? Are we done? Which other one? Okay. What's the clause? Anybody for a bottle of small Coke? Anybody? What's the clause on this? Comparables. It has to be what? Discounted. If the company you are actually valuing is not listed. So if you are using a listed company comparables, you are expected to adjust for what? Illiquidity discount, right? And I told us for this exam, what do you do? Just assume any percentage. But in real life, there are models to actually use to compute illiquidity discount of companies, right? So what other method do we have? Number 3 is the cash flow. This is the big elephant. Cash flow model. And I said this cash flow model, all we are just simply saying, this cash flow model, there are 2 types, right? Cash flow to firm, cash flow to equities. You can also decide to use dividend. Cash flow is simply saying, if I can put my asset for rent, the rental income I'm going to be getting till infinity, discounted to today, should give me a reasonable estimate of the value of that asset. Is that not? And we said there are 2 types. The first is the free cash flow. To what? To firm. Which is free cash flow to firm. All we are saying is whatever cash flow that you have belongs to two people. Who are they? The debt holders and what? And the equity holders. No thinking. And the second one is free cash flow to what? To equity. Meaning the cash flow belongs to one person, equity holders. So it's only equity holders. And this guy, both equity holders and what? And debt holders. All right. What other difference? This guy, remember we are saying if you're using cash flow, you're discounting it to infinity, Abi. This cash flow to firm is discounted using what? Discounted. You're ready for the exam. Work. And this guy should be discounted using what?
Cost of equity.
Discounted using cost of equity. We don't have to think twice on how to calculate WACC or what? How to calculate cost of equity. I believe that if you are experts in calculating weighted average cost of capital and cost of equity, and you prove that to me as we go on, right? Okay, so what else? Again, if I'm trying to calculate cash flow to firm, remember, we said we don't deduct what? You don't deduct interest, Abi. How about here? Do you deduct interest? Yes, you deduct interest because interest belongs to debt holders. So you have to net it off to get free cash flow to equity. So we move on. And then the fourth one is what? The dividend valuation model. Is not different from what you did under cost of equity. All right. And according to DVM, remember your KE equals to D divided by MVE x div. Okay? All we are saying here is the cost of any equity is that the dividend I'm paying now because the cost to me divided by the market value of that equity, x div, right? So now, if you come to valuation, remember this market value is what me I'm doing now, which is valuation. This is what gives me the value of the company. All I'm just doing is make this guy subject of formula so that my MVE becomes what? D all over what? KE. No thinking. This is where there is what? There is no growth. No growth. In my entire teaching career, this is the best set of students. SFM. Ready. Where there's growth, what should I do?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes. What we are saying is wrong. Tell me.
Excuse me,
Yes,
sir. Can you hear
question.
me?
Yes, speak. I can hear
The
you.
growth, is it the normal formula for growth we're going to use if there's growth?
Very good. No thinking. Same thing. No thinking. The same thing. Yes. Where there is growth, what do? MVE equals to D0, 1 plus G divided by what? KE minus what? G. Where D0 equals to dividend. When? Dividend now, right? G equals to what? The growth rate. Determine using two models. Historical and what? You're doing well. Historical model and Gordon's model. And then our KE is what, guys? Cost of what? Equity. We're done with this guy. Remember that your D0, 1 plus G is equals to what? D1, where a future dividend is given to you. It means there's no need to apply what? The growth already, right? Because the growth is already there, so you don't have to apply that growth again. And I believe we are all familiar with this at this point. Any issue? This D0 into 1 plus G. D0 is the dividend when? Now. So they told me, if I'm told that dividend next year is 20 naira, what that simply means that the growth from now to that next year has already been applied. So that means the entire thing will have to become D1. So just watch out for that. So if the examiner said the dividend, current dividend is, or dividend has been declared, which is dividend now. So that's D0, as you call it, right? So, but if you are told that the future dividend or estimated dividend for next year, it means they are giving you what? D1. In that case, this G will not be on this first, so you only apply it here. All right. Okay, so I think we are done. Now, the only thing I need to explain again is where you have multi-stage valuation. All right. Now, look at this cash flow. You know, we only talked about this two. This cash flow also, remember, we are discounting this cash flow, Abi? Just like we are doing for what? We are doing for dividend also. If I'm doing for cash flow, it means my market value here becomes free cash flow to firm into 1 plus G divided by what? WACC minus what? G. This is when I'm trying to get the value of a free cash flow to firm to infinity, the total value of the company. Do you understand? Why am I putting WACC here? Because it is what? For firm. Right? If I want to get market value, sorry, I'm not putting equity here. This is not equity now. Market value of the business. So if I'm doing for MVE, this will now be free cash flow to what? Equity into 1 plus G divided by what? Minus what? G. No thinking. The same thing that we have under this DVM. The same thing. All you are just replacing is either you are using dividend or you are using cash flow. And the same rule applies. If I'm giving future cash flow, estimated cash flow next year, there's no need for this again. If I'm giving estimated equity, what's it called? Free cash flow to equity next year, there's no need for this again. Anybody having issues, struggling? Tell me. Are we good? Can we move on? All right. All right. So NB, where growth stops somewhere or time in the future, the total value would have to be computed using the multi-stage approach. That is, total value equals to value from now to time n plus value from where? Time n to what? To infinity. All I'm saying here is, remember, if I'm saying that the value of a company is getting the cash flows and discounting it from now till when? To infinity. But there are some questions where they will tell you that the cash flow will grow from now for 4 years as also percent. And then from that 4 years to infinity, grow at another, another percent of growth. So what we're supposed to do is actually to adopt what? The multi-stage. The multi-stage means that from time now to time n, which is time sometimes in the future, right? Plus the value from time n to what? To infinity. The two of them is what will give us what? The value of that company. Any question? Yes. Yes, terminal value, infinity. All right. Okay, so let's go to that question we were trying to look at yesterday. May 20, for this 2024, I mean, we look at May 2024, question 1. They've tested this a lot of times, and anytime it comes out, within 10, 15 minutes, you are done with the whole 30-mark question, if you know what you are doing. All right, so let's really look at that question 1, May 2024. Online, are you still connected?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
For your team taking time to it's taking time to drop what you wrote.
Say again.
No, it's okay though, but the screen is just frozen somehow.
Is it like that for everybody, please?
It's okay from here.
I feel my
Please,
network.
probably check.
It's okay
Please check
from
your
my own
network.
side.